Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to another episode of Books and Booze. I am so excited to have my next guest here, Miss RaShonda Tate. I was just telling her just a few minutes ago, she has always been doing her thing with the Black Girl Magic, but this one right here, Queen of Sugar Hill, she just stepped it up a bit. So come on in here, guys. Get comfortable. Grab your drink, your snacks, and everything. Come on in here and let's talk Queen of Sugar Hill. So, RaShonda, I am so super excited to have you here today, and I want to thank you for even just taking the time to come on here and talk about this. Guys, welcome our guest here today, Miss RaShonda Tate. She is a national best-selling author with over 50 books in her catalog. And she this treasure here is an intro into historical. So
Yeah.
y'all, we know she can do it because she just gave it to us. So we're gonna try to encourage her to keep it going. She can dibble and dabble into that contemporary too, because we love that too. But we want to see more of this historical. So welcome, Rashonda. Thank
Well,
you for
thank
being here.
you. Thank you for having me. It's such an honor to be here.
Yes, it is this book is really, I call it as such a time as this book because we're in the month of Black History.
Mhm.
Um, we know Hattie McDaniel is such a iconic character for back in her time, and often did not get her due. I will say I remember growing up, and the words or the people that I heard about was Lena Horne, Ruby D, who are all great in their right too. But
Mhm.
it was great to have you write this story to kind of set the stage right, if you will. So thank you for that.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So one question I have is, being an avid reader, we sort of love our book covers. And so when I look at this book cover here, um, I want to know here what inspired this book cover, how much of this book cover is, setting the tone, and what are you saying to us with this book cover?
So I'm going to be honest. When my publisher first gave me this book cover, I didn't like it. I wanted a woman with her back to me, and I told Victoria Christopher Murray that, and Victoria was like, "You mean like this?" And she sent me a picture of another book cover. She said, "Or like this." And she sent me another picture and another one,
Mhm.
all with the lady with her back to it. And she said, "No, we like this cover because it's not like the other ones." And I was
Right.
like, you know what? You may have a point. And my editor says she wanted a cover that moved. We wanted a cover that showed Hattie going toward her dreams. And so once they put it in perspective like that, I was like, yeah, you know what? You're right. And that's what it is. It's all about her going toward her dreams.
One of the things I like about this cover is number one, the colors, the backdrop of it is just, it just brings you right to the book. But then I love this car with that scarf hanging out the window because, even though Hattie McDaniel had some adversity, well, a lot of it actually, it just shows that when she was doing her thing, she was carefree about it and she was doing her.
Right.
And we couldn't ask for anything better for that, especially since so much that she had went through. Now, the title Queen of Sugar Hill, what significance is that to the story?
So Sugar Hill is the neighborhood that Hattie McDaniel lived in, and it was actually originally called the West Adams District.
Hmm.
And Hattie McDaniel, that was her dream when she first set foot on LA soil to one day live in this neighborhood. And she finally, after winning the Academy Award, was able to buy a home there. And
Oh,
she bought a mansion. She paid $10,000 above asking costs. And then her neighbors sued because she's black. And there was the restrictive covenants, which was a law that basically said people can't sell their homes to anyone unless they're of European descent.
wow.
And so Hattie was like, "You're not getting me out of my house," and she took them to court in the 1940s, which was unheard of. And what was even more unheard of was winning a case against all of these white
Yes,
people. And
yes.
she won and was able to keep her home. And that was the catalyst for another case that in the Supreme Court, which outlawed restrictive covenants. So people don't even know we're able to live wherever we want to live because of Hattie
Mhm.
McDaniel.
Right. And it was like I said, I was talking to someone about the book after I finished reading it. That was one of the things I said. No, she wasn't only iconic in for the way she paid for, other actresses and entertainers to come up. She was really iconic in where we could live. I mean,
Right.
so that we could have those those type of resources.
Mhm.
She not only saved her home, but she was the front person to save everybody else's home was there, because without her, they would have also lost.
Yes, because they weren't getting anywhere. Because they actually had started fighting this case before Hattie McDaniel came on board, and they weren't getting anywhere. They weren't having any traction, and it wasn't until she stepped in and said, "Oh no, I'm about to lead this fight,"
Yeah.
and it worked.
Yeah. So I just want to take a few minutes to welcome some of the people who've come in the room here. Good evening, Ola. It's good to see you here. Miss JB, it's always good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Velver, always nice to see you. Myra, thank you for joining us. And Mama Tony, thank you, thank you, thank you. So they have a few things other than hello. Everybody's saying hello. But then Miss JB says she loves the backdrop of the book. I agree.
This live
And
on Facebook because I was trying to share it and I didn't see it on
yeah,
Facebook.
it should be on Facebook, but it might be on the page instead of the profile.
Oh, that may be the problem.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so it's streaming, or we're streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitter or X
Okay,
as well.
awesome.
Yeah. So and also Miss Miss JP says, Hattie, a woman to be reckoned with.
Yes.
I agree with that. I will also say that Hattie McDaniel was somewhat of a quiet storm. You
Mm-hmm.
know, she was, she did not move, and she felt like she did not have to hoop and holler to get the things that she wants. And I also in my head when I was reading, she was more like that person that says, "I can show you better than I can tell you."
Right. I call her a quiet warrior. So she
Oh
was
yes.
a quiet warrior. And we're so used to the activists who are loud and power to the people, fight the power. But
Hmm.
there is a fraction of people that really are quiet change agencies. And that's what she was.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. So let's get into some of the writing. Like, okay, so we know what she endured. If you read the book, you know some of the things that she endured. But you as yourself, as being an entertainer, what was, after you've dived into her story and got a feel for who she was? What is there anything that you would change about your perspective of your journey now going forward?
Yeah, one of the most interesting things for me about Hattie McDaniel was the fact that she persevered. When you look at the totality of her story, she has been through it. She was hated by blacks, hated by whites. She had a horrible love life. She had personal challenges, but she always got up. No matter how much life knocked her down, she got up. And that was one of the biggest takeaways that I had from this.
Yes, yes. Which is it's a good one. It's one of the major ones, actually. I mean, even when she was dealing with her illness, her terminal illness, most people would not have thrown
Right.
one of those. I mean, she was still celebrating, and I think it's something to be said, with facing so much darkness, that
Mhm.
someone can still celebrate,
Yeah.
Yes, Myra, yes, good for her. And I think we all should kind of take some nuggets away from this story as it relates to what Hattie McDaniel had went through.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, this book is kind of like also kind of parallel too to some of the things that we're seeing in the entertainment industry in Hollywood today. It's almost like the more things change, the more they stay the same. Here
Hmm.
we are, like, what, almost 100 years later,
Yes.
and we are still dealing with some of the things that Hattie McDaniel had to deal with, and some of this ingrained fighting too is I feel like if you could take one thing away from Hattie when she got that that opportunity to do that radio show that she was doing,
Hmm.
she she brought people on board with her. She brought her own people on board with her. And it was good to see that she was doing that. But one of the things that I struggled with was what was the NAACP was one of her biggest adversaries.
Yeah.
And I guess I just didn't quite get what their purpose in life was back then, because they wasn't bringing anything that she should be doing. They was just telling her not to do it.
Right. So the NAACP waged an all out war on Hattie McDaniel and actors
Hmm.
like her. One of the things, they were trying to do, they were well meaning. They wanted to get better representation for African Americans, but they did it at the expense of Hattie McDaniel.
Exactly.
And what she was saying was, what else do you expect me to do? Would you like me to go play Clark Gable's love interest? What do you want me to do? Because I'd rather play a maid for $700 than be a maid for $7.
Yeah.
And the argument that so many of them had was, well, just don't take these demeaning roles. And then she said, you do understand this is all that a woman like me can play. And so the criticism against her really was unfair. Then there was the whole, you're perpetuating these stereotypes. And Hattie's thought process was Lucille Ball can be a silly comedian and nobody judges her for the whole race. But when I do it, and it's an indictment on the whole race. And so that was something that was very frustrating for her often.
Hmm. Yeah, and I mean, and it's almost like they were begrudging her for trying to feed her family, herself and her family. She was going to have to work. And then I wondered to myself, like, if she did play that maid for $7 and just give it all up, then would they have been happy? They probably would not have been, because now they say you have a voice and you're not doing enough. You
Right.
know what I mean?
And they're not looking at all the doors that she opened. Back to
Hmm.
that quiet warrior part, one of the things that we don't look at, those people that look at Hattie and judge her for those roles, Hattie McDaniel had a seat at the table. And so there are a lot of negative scenes that were in the Gone with the Wind book that didn't make it into the movie. And that's because Hattie McDaniels was at the table and she
Hmm.
was saying, no, we're not using the N word. No, we're not doing this. And she was using that quiet power of hers to make a difference. But we are only looking at, well, she played this maid and she bucked her eyes and that was the role. That was the way the actors acted at the time. So we have to take off our 21st century lenses and look at it from the time in which it was filmed.
Yeah. And Mama Tony says Hattie was in a no-win situation. Absolutely. But she persevered through that. You know
Right.
what I mean? And she made her, I mean, she made her own way. She made her own way. She couldn't win for losing. Exactly. You know, and so I love the fact, like you said, a quiet warrior, because she just kept moving on, moving on, moving on. And I celebrated the part in the book when she did get offered to do that radio show, and she was able to write her own ticket and do what she wanted to do. I mean, it was a small feat, but it was big, you
Right.
know?
Well, it even goes to people will immediately complain and go, "Oh, Hattie McDaniel wasn't even allowed to sit with her castmates at the Academy Awards." And yeah, that is a very tragic
Yeah.
part of history. But if you were to ask Hattie would say, "I was in the room.
Yeah.
Yes, I would have loved to be where I want to be up with everybody else, but there had never been any black people in the room other than janitors and wait staff. So I'm going to celebrate this victory that I have instead of begrudging what I don't have just yet. We're in the room. That is a first step, and I'm going to celebrate it."
Yeah. And the celebration it was for all of us, really, you
Yeah.
know. So let me ask you this. So when you think of Hattie McDaniel, give me two words that you would describe her.
So definitely perseverance.
Yeah.
I mean, I might have to do more than because she was extremely talented. So
Mhm.
perseverance, talented, and just what is the word when you see the light in the midst of a storm. And that was one of the things that I inspiring that I
Yes.
took away from her,
Mhm.
because all the stuff she went through, for the average person, we would just fall on the sofa and just never get up. And life kept knocking Hattie McDaniel down, and she kept getting right on back up.
Yeah. You wrote this book in first person. And so how was it writing this for in first person? Was it difficult, given the fact that you had to do so much research, to get her story?
Yeah, it wasn't difficult because I felt a connection to Hattie
I
McDaniel from.
know, right?
It's so crazy because so when I did research, extensive research for about 3 years, and I went to her home in Los Angeles,
Oh,
and I
wow.
stood outside and I took everything in, and I felt Hattie talking to me. My mother says that stuff like that makes me sound crazy, but that's what it is. I felt her talking to me because it's her story has just been distorted over the years.
Yeah.
And so it was my honor to be able to bring that story back to life. And I was able to do it because I felt such a connection that I was able to channel how I felt she felt during that time.
Hmm. Yeah, and so I mentioned to you earlier today about, your tours, you have had quite the tour. You and Hattie McDaniel have had quite the
Yes.
tour. And what has it felt like to you to you know, write this story and at the end, when you write the end, you don't really know how people are going to take it, right? And then you're doing something new that your followers are not normally used to. So, what has it felt like to go on these tours and have these people support you like this? Because it has been a really exciting time, even for me watching from the sidelines.
It has. It's so funny because I have some readers immediately, and they were like, I don't want you writing historical fiction. I don't want to read that. And I'm like, you don't know Hattie. You used to drama. Hattie got some drama for you.
Right, right.
But at the same time, you will learn so much. And that's what I'm getting. I'm getting people that love this. The most negative thing that I got are some people mad because they want more of her story. And I'm like, well, this is all I can give you right now. But I love my regular readers, touching them and just educating them, because most people are going, I didn't know all of this stuff. How did I not know this?
Yeah.
And then I also love reaching a whole slew of other people.
Hmm.
I've had white readers before. This is a next level white
Yeah.
readership.
Yeah.
And what I appreciate is there are some of them. One lady told me in North Carolina, you have helped me shed my guilt behind Mammy, because she loved the movie. She loved Gone with the Wind. She loved Mammy. But remember in 2020, where everything was canceled, she
Hmm.
felt like she couldn't tell people that she liked the movie anymore. And she felt like she needed to be reserved. She carried some guilt. And she was like, okay, I am glad that you shared this story because I like Mammy. And now I can release the guilt and be okay with liking Mammy.
Yeah.
And that's what I want us to not erase it. We're always complaining to other people about erasing our history. And then we try to erase it as well because we look at it from a negative point of view.
Yeah. I have there's a couple of people who are now, getting into the historical realm. I for one love it because when you write historical, it it gives me an opportunity to receive it in a different way. Not
Right.
like when you're in school and you're learning history, but you're wrapping this around, a story, and you're using your creativity, and I can receive it better. 'Cause
Mhm.
I love to read. So I'm going to pick up a book, and probably would pick up something like this to learn some history before I go into the library and pick up an encyclopedia or something like that. So I think you're doing a great job with, giving us some history, but then also giving us some entertainment as well.
Yeah, that was definitely a goal.
Yeah. Yeah, and you've done it well. You have absolutely done it well. So let's talk about some of those some of those comments and memorable moments, I guess, if you will, that you've been having. Has there anything that has been really memorable and has surprised you, that people have been saying to you along the way?
Yeah, so I'm actually in this Gone with the Wind Facebook group. These are people that love the movie.
All
There are
right.
over 40,000 people in there. As you know, the majority of them are probably are white. And I did a post about how I didn't initially like Mammy,
Mhm,
because I felt like she was demeaning and
mhm,
she was a maid.
mhm,
And my grandmother told me, she's playing a maid. I am a maid. And
mhm,
what, so why are you looking at that with disdain? And it was my grandmother who said, "Who do you want her to play? Should she be Scarlett O'Hara in 1939?" And so it was at that point that I really started thinking differently about
mhm,
Hattie McDaniel. And over the years, she just remained someone that I felt this connection with. And so in this Facebook group, I talked about that. And I immediately got some scathing responses. That's dumb. That's stupid. How do you not like Mammy? And what is there to feel guilty about? So these are some white men coming at me left and right, white men and white women. And I came back instead of, as one of my friends, Tiffany Warren, was like, cuss them out. And I'm like,
mhm,
no, I'm
mhm,
educating them. And
mhm,
I said, one man in particular, I said, you're entitled to your opinion, but I'm giving you the opinion of a young black girl who
mhm,
was watching this on television and the reasons I felt the way that I did. And he returned with, wow, I've never had anyone put it to me like that. And
mhm.
he immediately went out and bought the book and started telling people about the book.
Oh,
He
wow.
downloaded it, read it, loved it, and started telling other people about it. And it's just because our immediate reaction is to be combative
Yeah.
instead of understanding each other. And so that's been one of the biggest things is getting an understanding from other people.
Mhm. And I think we need more of that. We need more people to come to the table and be listeners instead of that combative thing, because we always resist the things that we are not familiar with.
Right.
And they have their perspective, and then we have our perspective. But it's nice to hear both sides, and it was nice that he was able to, especially now in this day and age, it was nice for him to be able to receive what you were saying, and and then actually look at it from your side of the fence.
Yes.
That's very powerful. That's one thing right there, honey. We could take that and run with it and be all right with it. You know what I'm saying? That is really great. Really, really great. I'm loving it. So now, um, let's talk about your some of your research that you had to do for Hattie McDaniel. And also this is gonna be two-part thing. So let's talk about your research, and let's talk about because in your author's note you gave us an in-depth a situation where your timelines may not add up, but
Mm-hmm.
you're fictional writing too, so you have to understand that. So tell us about your research and why it was important for you to put that note in there for us.
Yeah, so I spent, like I said, 3 years researching this book because I would go down these research rabbit holes, but also because, the initial reaction or the initial thing that people do is they go to the internet and start Googling. And so that's what I did. And I was dumbfounded by the information that was on the internet that was incorrect.
Hmm.
And I found it out by, if you go to Wikipedia, if you go to all these magazine articles, they talk about Hattie's husband, George Langford, who died in a gambling accident.
Hmm.
That's everywhere on the internet.
Hmm.
Long story short, Hattie didn't have a husband named George Langford.
Hmm.
And I found that out because I took it beyond the internet. And so I would spend just hours and weeks trying to validate some things that I found and learned so much was erroneous. So I had to go to research libraries. I
Okay.
went to the library at Howard University. I went to the library at the Huntington Library in California. I devoured census records, newspaper articles from back then. And I was able to pull together my research from that way to paint Hattie's complete story.
Hmm.
Now, I had the note at the end because I'm not telling a cradle to grave story. I picked a portion of Hattie's life. And so, in order to do that justice, I had to adjust the timeline a little. Even though this is historical fiction, I wanted everything that I was doing to be based in facts. So, if I had to alternate any facts, I wanted to explain it. Case in point, I opened with the Academy Awards and Clark Gable being there. In reality, Clark Gable didn't attend that Academy Award because he had found out he lost. So he didn't
Oh,
show up.
wow.
But what I wanted to do is, remember, I only have, 300, 400 pages
Right.
to tell a story. So I wanted to set up from the very beginning Clark's friendship. So
Hmm.
that's kind of where the fiction comes in, is that I put him there so that I can reimagine and set how it would be if he had been there.
Hmm.
And I do that to lay the foundation, since we don't have a whole lot of time. But
Right.
I explain that because I don't want somebody going and Googling and trying to find what Clark wore to the Academy Awards only to find out that he wasn't really there.
Right. And there are some out there. So the one of the things I think with historical fiction is, if you are so inclined to do, some readers will do that research right alongside of you, and they would pick out some of those things that may not be true. So I said, when I read that in there, which was really good for me too, because there were some things I didn't understand. So that helped me out a lot, just reading that author's note. Me as a reader, I read from cover to cover because
Mhm.
I think it's nuggets in every word, you know what I'm saying? So you don't want to miss out on everything. So that was good. Um, when Hattie McDaniel and Clark Gable's relationship as friendship, what that was real,
Mhm.
right? Okay, because when I saw that, I did not know that until I read it there. I did not know that they were such good friends. So it was just a lot of nuggets in there. You gave us an absolute lot of nuggets. So I'm just gonna put this up here because I want people to see, Hattie McDaniel, and this is one of my favorite pictures of her in the red. This is just, I love just that. And if you can see, I got my little Hattie McDaniel little
Yes.
hairstyle here, which is one of my normal hairstyles anyway. But I thought, oh, okay, that's really good. But this is her award here, and this is her holding her award. And I have to say, not too shabby, right? Not
Right. And, a lot of people don't know. So back then, they didn't give the best supporting actors and actresses a trophy. They got these plaques. And so that's what that people look at that and they go, well, that's not the Academy Award, but that's what they gave to best supporting actors and actresses
Mhm.
back then.
I think it's nice. I
Yes,
mean,
very nice.
given the fact of it was so long ago,
Hmm.
and and her being a black female,
Yeah.
so this is wonderful. This is one of the things I had sitting up here when I was reading. I made this graphic when I was reading that, just to keep me inspired about her story.
Yes.
Yeah. So now, I have to ask about this, Hetty Harper.
Yes.
Hetty Harper, at one point she got on my nerves,
Yes.
and then when it was toward the end, I saw a different side of her, and I actually, began to like her. But I wanted to ask, because I know that you're a journalist, I wanted to ask, is there any parts of Hetty Harper that are you?
No, and even though I used to work for the National Enquirer, I don't like being the paparazzi. I don't like digging up dirt and gossip on celebrities.
Hmm.
But that was Hedda Hopper was the Wendy Williams of her day.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
got to the point that the studios would leak her information, and so she
Mhm.
she was well known for that. And then she had some moments with Hattie McDaniel because she liked Hattie, but she didn't
Mhm.
understand why Hattie was getting any kind of negativity from the black community.
Yes.
And so she would say, you need to be mad at your own people because they're the ones giving you a hard
Mhm.
time, and that kind of put Hattie in a bad position as well.
Yeah, I mean, she was like someone had said earlier. She was caught between a rock and a hard ball. I mean, she was, if she went one way, she was
Yeah.
going to be slapped. If she went another way, she was going to be slapped. But what was, I don't know if you found any of this when you were doing your research, but what was the relationship with her and Lena Horne? It looked like they were still, coming up against it with no, animosity, but was it animosity there?
It was not animosity, but the NAACP, one of the biggest things that I found that really hurt my heart and had me feel for Hattie was the 1942 National Convention for the NAACP.
Mhm.
Hattie McDaniel attended by invitation, and she thought she was going to be honored, and instead, the NAACP executives brought Lena Horne to the stage. And
Mhm.
Lena didn't know she was being used. Lena was just excited to be, she was new to Hollywood, but
Mhm.
they said in front of 10,000 people This is the image we want Hollywood to see, not the Hattie McDaniel's mammy. So imagine sitting there in front of all of these people and them saying to everyone, Lena Horne is the beautiful one we want. We don't want people like Hattie representing us. So she had to sit there with her head held high. And Lena didn't like being used in that manner.
Yeah,
She,
yeah.
she was a little shocked that he had done that because she loved and respected Hattie McDaniel.
Mhm. Yeah. One of my favorites during that time was Ruby D and Ossie,
Mhm.
those two. And so when I saw even Hattie McDaniel, how she paved the way for them, she opened up her doors to her home for for these
Yes.
people, and I just could not understand what was so hard to like about her, you know.
It was because they felt like she shouldn't take the roles. In fact, the day after she won, the Pittsburgh Courier, the black newspaper, had
Mhm.
a big headline with her picture, and across the top it said Uncle Thomasina wins.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that just hurt her heart because she's like, I just want to act.
Mhm. Yeah. And and she a lot of times with Hattie McDaniel, she was, like I said, she was like that quiet storm where she was, leading her journey, but she was doing big things, but she was still doing it up under the radar. Like as far as for pay for the actors, when she had won that award, you know, and her agent came to her to offer her another opportunity, he right away, which would make sense, we're going to ask for more money. I did not understand in the beginning why she would turn something like that down, but I see now she just did not want to really, she just didn't want to be in the spotlight like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and there's a part of her that was afraid because it had happened
Hmm.
to other actors. Once you go in demanding more money, that you end up, getting fired, and they're like, "Well, we're going to go in a different direction." And so for her in that moment, it was more important that she get work instead of get the extra money.
Yeah, to keep on paving the way for other people, how she did so much, like even with the scholarships that she did, those are things that people tend to forget, that they do, or they don't think it's enough, but those are big things that she was doing. Even with the sorority sisters, how she brought them into, Sugar Hill, and just really just was such the hostess with the mostest.
Yeah, there was actually a thing with Hattie where people could just come to her door. There were two young girls in my research I found. They said they just adored Hattie McDaniel, and one day they got on their bikes and just rolled to her neighborhood and rang the doorbell, and she invited them in for tea and cookies.
Yeah.
And they wanted to see somebody living like Hattie McDaniel. And
Yeah.
so, unlike a lot of celebrities nowadays, they have to be closed off. Hattie was open to everybody. And she was like, come on in, let me talk to you. And she was in the midst of doing something, but she took time out for these young girls. And they were like, that was something that stayed with them always.
Because she was a mentor also too, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
to a lot of people. She used to host parties. And so she would host these parties not only for her celebrity friends, but she would host parties for young women because she wanted them to see what was possible. And
Hmm.
so she wanted them to be in that environment to see the things that they could achieve.
Yes, yes. And I wish I had been able to, just rub up against her just a little bit. Now for you, even in the author world too, we're seeing some of that same, adversity that they're seeing in Hollywood and in the entertainment. So what do you think, or how will you move differently, in your journey, having have to have all this information now?
Yeah, I just want to keep educating people. I'm grateful that it's opening up doors to some
Yeah.
avenues that I hadn't had before.
Mhm.
Just because I want to be able to people shine a new light on Hattie McDaniel, and then introduce a whole new generation. My son is 16, and when I kept talking about her, he called her Hattie LaBelle because he had never heard of her, and he knows who she is now,
Yeah.
and I want to educate so that her legacy is not lost. So I really love that.
Yeah, one of the things about that too is because I no longer have my elders with me, so now it's at my level as being the matriarch of the family.
Yes.
But one of the things that I realized, and I wish I had done this, a long time ago, is write the stuff down that I was getting, because you lose so much of your history with those people who have come before us and all the things, all the great things that they've done. So what makes this book, and those like it, is that you tell a story, so we feel like we were there and we were able to get the history, and so we know a little bit better now. We know that we had people who were paving the way in entertainment, and as more books get read, and even in our Black History Month, when we find out about it, we know that we had some amazing people. Our people were amazing, but they just don't get the light shined on them
Right.
because they're forgotten. You know what I mean? And so for you as a creative to take the time to pull one of those out of the archives
Yeah.
and bring it to the forefront, we appreciate you for that.
Thank you.
Um, Hetty McDaniel was a wonderful story. Now that you have this, you're going to be doing more, right?
I am. I've fallen in love with this because so I'm a journalist by trade. This
Mhm.
allows me to do that by digging up the facts, finding the facts, and laying that as the foundation. And then my novelist side can come in and fill in the blanks.
Right.
It's a merging of both worlds for me that I absolutely love. So I am currently at work on my next book, which is on Hazel Scott. And Hazel Scott, for those that don't know, was the biggest jazz singer and musician in our time. She was bigger than Billie Holiday, Sarah Vaughan. She was married to Adam Clayton Powell Jr., but she has been all but erased from history because she chose to fight for civil rights. And so
Mhm.
then she was therefore deemed a communist and
Oh,
basically just erased from history. And her story fascinated me. And so I can't wait to bring her story to light.
oh, okay. Well, I think we're all in here for this. So, guys, if you have any questions, for, we don't want to keep her too long. Me, I can go on forever, but I want to be mindful of her time because I want her to come back. So, if you guys have any questions, for RaShonda, please drop them in the comments. I'm noticing that, looks like Facebook may not have streamed. So what I will do is I will drop the link in a blog post and I'll share it on Facebook for you guys to watch it later. I apologize for that. I have no idea. It's saying that I'm streaming on Facebook, but I don't know. Um, Technology for you. But
Yes.
anyway, I'm glad you guys are dropping over on the YouTube channel. But again, if you know anybody who missed it or from the Facebook side, I will post it in a blog post and share it on Facebook this weekend, so you won't miss it. But if there's any questions for RaShonda, bring them in here while we have her here, and you know we we're going to have her share where you can kind of keep up, because you want to keep up with her now because she's been bitten by the bug. She's already had the contemporary down pat. So now this historical ones, for those who love it, you want to follow her because you want to see what she's got coming up. Yeah, write the book. That's right. JB, write the book. So, RaShonda, tell us how we can stay connected to you.
Yes, so my website is my name, RaShondaTate.com, or they can follow me on social media. I'm active on Facebook, which is all of the links to all my social media is on my website. So I'm on
Okay.
Instagram and occasionally on TikTok. It's hard to keep up with it all.
Yes, tell me about it. Even for me, I try to keep up with all of them, but
Yeah,
that's why I'm trying to, I have so many that I can,
right.
stream to. So I try to hit them all, but I don't know what happened with Facebook since
Yeah.
this time. But anyway, so we'll stay connected to you. Look out for what she's got coming next. And again, is there any more tours that you have coming up?
Oh yeah, I'm busy, busy. So I'm actually in DC now, and I head home tomorrow.
Mhm.
And then I'm there for a few days, and I'm in Oklahoma City next weekend, and then I'm on the road all week long. And then
Oh,
my
wow.
March is busy as well. So I'm blessed to have back to back to back to back book signings and book
Okay.
events.
Oh, for those of you all who want to, have like me, I want a cover copy, signed, if you will. So if you could tell us if there's any way we can get those, just kind of direct us. I'll put it in the chat here.
Yeah, so I've left several and the book is in paperback. So I've left several signed copies at all the places that I've had book signings, all of the independent stores, which I encourage people to support independent booksellers. And I've left signed copies there, and they ship out all over. And of course, you can
Okay.
find those that information on my website.
Okay, sounds good. Now, will you have hardcovers eventually?
So initially, this book was going to be a hardcover,
Okay.
and then the publisher and the sales team decided to make it paperback because they said that the readers didn't really want it. I think that they underestimated the readers.
Yes.
I think now they're like, okay, maybe we should have, but they can really only go on what people are buying, and
Yeah.
people we don't really pre-order, and that's how they judge what they're going to do with the book. So I'm just determined to get out there, sell as many books as I can, so the next go around there won't even be any question on whether it's hardcover.
Right, right, right. Yeah, I know I'm going to get it regardless of it. I just, have a signed copy because I think this is a treasure and this is truly something you want to make room on your shelves for. Even if you got to move some stuff over, you want this on your shelf, especially as being us. You want it on there. So again, thank you so, so very much for coming on and speaking with us and sharing your story with us. We will continue to follow you. I'm going to continue to follow you and watch you on this journey that you have in here. Wish I could be at some of these places. You're not by any chance coming to Chicago, are you?
No, I don't have it on the schedule yet.
Okay. Well, maybe when you do this next one, we'll be one of your one of
Yes,
them stops.
yes.
Okay. So thank you so much. Have safe travels, and I will continue to watch you virtually.
All right, sounds
So
good.
have a good rest of your night. And again, thank you so much for being with us today.
Okay, sounds good. Take care. Thank you.
Okay. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.